Hello, very good evening, guys. Welcome to Resultant, the faculty development platform for your GATE, ESC, and all the competitive examinations for civil and mechanical. So, very good evening, all of you. Very good evening. How are you all? All good, all perfect. चलिए, so today we are gonna have a discussion of the very important topic जो बहुत लोग के बीच में confusion भी बहुत रहा है कि सर how to understand the concept, how to solve the question from simplex method. तो entire thing will be discussed in today's session. Okay, so very good evening. Very good evening. I hope all good, all perfect. All right. So, just like I told you, the complete series for concept through questions we are discussing the previous two sessions. In the first session, we have talked about the inventory models, specifically the EOQ model. In the second class, that is yesterday, we had a discussion on the graphical method. So today we will be discussing about the simplex method. Very important, because this is a topic which students do have confusions. Okay, so in order to overcome that problem, we have taken this this particular session in order to eliminate all the problems or all the doubts they are having, and for that you have to see the entire session, then only you will be able to have, and definitely I'll be giving you one question as an homework also, ताकि आप practice करें, because what happens is once you are completing the topic, after that you have to practice at least a single question. और इसलिए आई हैव टेकन वन क्वेश्चन एज एन होमवर्क फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर सेशन. ठीक है, फाइन. सो गुड इवनिंग, माय ऑडियो एंड वीडियो ऑल गुड, ऑल परफेक्ट. एक बार जल्दी से कमेंट सेक्शन में बताइए. यस, चलिए. So I again welcome you all to the Resultant, the faculty driven platform. Because why I'm again repeating, because this is the platform where you guys gonna get benefit for all the competitive examination. Good evening, very good evening. कैसे हैं अखिलेश? गुड इवनिंग. अच्छा, नो प्रॉब्लम विद ऑडियो एंड वीडियो. चलिए, ऑल राइट. सो like, subscribe, please do subscribe to this channel. Why I'm insisting you, क्योंकि देखो, if when you are subscribing to the channel, you will be getting all the notification for all the subjects, not only for my sessions, entire जितने भी sessions होंगे from Dheeraj sir, Chandra sir, Negi sir, Richa madam, Joshi sir, Sonu sir, whatever session will be there, you will be getting the first person to be notified. Okay, chaliye. So let's begin the session, right? I hope so everyone knows about me. My name is Suraj Gopi and this is my mail ID, suraj@resultant.in and mechanical by Suraj Gopi. ये मेरा telegram channel है. And if you have any doubt or difficulty ना regarding to any subject, तो आप doubt clear कर लीजिए. Do not keep that doubt till the next day. उसी instant पे try to clarify that doubt, right? चलिए. So in today's session we will be talking about simplex method. Now remember, yesterday we had a discussion of graphical method and we have seen ki what is LPP and where we can use the concept of LPP in which particular practical examples. That could be a diet problem, or that could be a transportation problem, assignment problem, or manufacturing problem. We have taken all the examples, okay, and we have discussed this in detail, and we have taken one question also as homework. Now the question is, अब simplex method क्यों पढ़ना है? देखो, graphical is very easy to solve any question from LPP, तो simplex की क्या जरूरत है? Basically what happens is there is one we can say drawback of graphical approach. Can you tell me what is the drawback और क्या problem है graphical method में? Anyone? What is the drawback of graphical approach? The only drawback of graphical approach is we can solve the LPP problem from graphical approach only if you are having two variables, है ना? If you are having more than two variables, let us suppose we are having three variables, तो वहाँ पे you definitely gonna you must be using the simplex method. वहाँ पे graphical का कोई concept नहीं होगा, क्योंकि graphical method is nothing but a graphical approach where you are plotting a graph on x and y axis. ठीक है, एंड इफ यू आर गेटिंग थ्री वेरिएबल्स, तो उस केस में क्या होगा, यू वोंट बी एबल टू प्लॉट एंड यू आर बाउंड टू यूज सिंप्लेक्स मेथड. Okay, now let's start simplex method and let's try to understand with help of an example also. But before that, I'll be taking what is simplex method, like why we are using this. Now simplex method is nothing but an iterative method. Iteration क्या होता है? What do you mean by iteration? You definitely might have heard about this term. क्या होता है? What is iteration? Anyone? What is iteration? I think in second year you are studying computer programming na, कुछ colleges में you are studying in first year itself. So what is iteration? Iteration means the step by step calculation, okay, until and unless we are reaching one desired result, that calculation will be repeatedly happening. That is we called as iteration. Clear? Fine. So simplex method is one of the method to solve any linear programming problem, right? And here what we are doing, we are using the combination of tables, some slack variables, pivot variables in order to find out the optimal solution, right? इसमें करते क्या है, what we'll do, we'll try to do the iterations. It's an iterative approach. Iterative approach, repetitive approach or iterative approach. Iteration means, देखो, again let me take one more example. Let us suppose you are having some formulations being written in the form of code, and you are running that code, right? And you are saying that this particular combination of equation will be calculated again and again unless and until I am getting x is at least equal to 5. Once you are getting the value of x greater than equal to 5, the iteration stops, and that is the final result. That is, we call it as iterative approach or iteration or repetitive solution. Clear है? Fine. तो इसमें iteration का क्या मतलब है? What is the meaning of iteration? मतलब definitely we need to identify the best result. तो iteration का मतलब ये है, let us suppose I am having some set of equations. So we try to take one set of values and we try to place that value in that particular equation. ठीक है? So we'll be getting one result, and we check whether that result is optimal or not. If that result is not optimal, then we try to take the next values. मान लीजिए you are taking x equal to x and y, one set of value. Let's say I'm taking 0, 0. ठीक है? I'm taking 0, x equal to 0, y equal to 0. You will be getting some value of objective function. Then we check कि whether this objective function is optimal or not. अगर optimal नहीं है, ठीक है, then we take a new set of values of x and y. Let us suppose I'm taking x equal to 1, y equal to 0. Then again I check the value of z, and whether this z is optimal or not. If it is not, then again I'll be taking the next value of x and y. So this is basically, we call it as iteration. इसी को we can call it as iteration. Clear? Understood? अब इस iteration method को we will be implementing in LPP by using this method, that is we call it as simplex method. Understood the basic idea? We'll be taking one example, or this example entire thing will be discussed. Each and every doubt you will be having now, that will be clarified by solving this question. ठीक है? चलिए. Now there are different steps that you need to follow in order to solve a LPP problem by using simplex method. First of all, what we do, we need to formulate the problem. Formulation of the problem we were doing in the graphical method also, by creating the objective function, by creating the constraints, है ना? Right? By creating the constraints, by having the non-negativity criteria, right? By identifying the slack variables. What is slack variable? अभी देखेंगे. ठीक है? Fine. Right, by identifying the non-basic variable, by identifying the basic variable. So once you are formulating, then we try to find out the initial solution. जैसे in the previous case, I am taking x equal to 0, y equal to 0. So we check whether the solution is अगर optimal है तो यहीं आपका iteration stop हो जाएगा, and the final result is this one. अगर optimal नहीं है, then we try to take the next set of values. So same thing we have written over here. Find out the initial solution, then we check whether the solution is optimal or not. अगर optimal है, problem solve, stop the iteration. अगर optimal नहीं है, then we try to identify the pivotal element. Then once we identify the pivotal element, then we try identify the new set of solution, and again this step will be repeated. And after this step will be repeated, and this way your iterations goes on, a repeated calculation goes on until analysis you are getting an optimum solution. Clear है? Understood? The basic steps क्या है? We'll be taking, don't worry, once you are into the question ना, आपको कोई दिक्कत नहीं आएगा. Clear? Can we now take step by step? Can we proceed? First of all, let us formulate the problem. Then we'll be find out the initial solution. Then we'll check whether the solution is optimal or not. If it is optimal, okay, stop the iteration. If it is not optimal, then you have to reallocate the values, re-identify the new set of values, and again check the optimal. Okay, fine. Definitely, Harsha. This is only the concept I'm telling you now, because the series is concept through questions. So now you're getting one basic idea of concept. Now we'll be taking one question, and all this discussion that we have did now will be trying to understand in form of a problem. Clear? All right. Chali. So now let's take this question on the screen. I hope so everyone is able to see the question. Question is quite easy. Consider the objective function. Now they have given the objective function z is equal to 3x1 plus 9x2, right? And we are having the constraints. These are the two constraints. And this is the non-negativity, right? You have to calculate maximum value of the object. That means you have to calculate z maximum. Z maximum is equal to 3x1 plus 9x2. All right, and we are having the constraints x1 plus x2 is less than equal to 8, and x1 plus 2x2 is less than equal to 4. And try to understand step by step. Okay, in after each step we will be having a thorough discussion. Make sure you are we can say clarifying all your doubts on that particular step, क्योंकि एक step के बाद when we go to the next step ना, you need to have a better understanding, complete clarity once you are understanding the step number 2. जब step number 2 discuss करेंगे, step number 1 must be completely clarified. Okay, चलो. Can you tell me, can we solve this question by graphical method? Yes or no? Quickly. My question is, can we solve this question by a graphical approach? If yes, tell me the answer quickly. Then the same solution will be cross-verified by using the simplex method. Are you able to get why I have taken this question? The reason being because we can solve this question by graphical, because there are only two variables, x1 and x2. So we can easily get the solution by using graphical. Then same problem will be solved by using the simplex method. All right, chali, let's rewrite the first constraint, that is x1 by 8 plus x2 by 8 less than equal to 1. Perfect. Second constraint can be written as x1 by 4 plus x2 by 2 less than equal to 1. So we have written the constraint in the intersect format. Chaliye, let's try to plot the graph. Let's try to plot the graph. We are having x1 over here and x2 over here. Okay. First constraint is 8 comma 8. Let's say this is 8. This is also 8. So we are having this as the first constraint towards the origin. And second constraint, we are having 4 comma 2. This is 4 and this is 2. Acha, tell me, is there any constraint to be a redundant constraint? Quickly. Is there any constraint to be the redundant constraint? These are the two constraints, constraint 1 and constraint number 2. Quickly. Anyone? Is there any constraint to be a redundant constraint? Obviously, if you try to visualize, this particular region is a feasible region. And that feasible region we are able to obtain only by using the constraint number 2. So I can clearly say the constraint number 1 is a we can say redundant constraint. Okay, it is a redundant, which is actually of no use. So we got the optimal solution. Right, so we got a feasible region. So let's say this is point A, this is point B. If I try to write the coordinate of point A and B, A is having a coordinate of, let me write, A is having a coordinate of 0 comma 2 and B is having a coordinate of 4 comma 0. Place it in this equation. Tell me what's the value of ZA and ZB. When you place it over here, ZA is equal to 18 and ZB is equal to 4 3s are 12. So the maximum value we are getting at point A. So this is my optimal solution. This is my optimal solution. Clear? That means x1 equal to 0 and x2 is equal to 2 is my optimal solution. Yes or no? Yes. So we got the solution by using the graphical approach. Now the same question we will be now solving by using the simplex method. Clear? Hai? Because we know the result now. We know the result. The final optimal solution is 0 comma 2. So that's after solving by using the simplex method, you must be getting this same solution. Clear? That is the reason I've taken a 2 variable problem. Okay, so can we start? Perfect. Chalo. So what is the objective function? Objective function is you need to maximize the objective function of 3x1 plus 9x2, right? And the constraints are x1 plus x2 less than equal to 8 and x1 plus 2x2 less than equal to 4. Now, listen to this carefully. Now, what I'll be doing is, because this is an inequality sign, it becomes difficult to solve the question. Okay, so what we do, we try to eliminate this inequality sign. So tell me, if I want to remove this inequality sign and convert into an equal sign, so I need to add one arbitrary variable on the left hand side or right hand side. One variable I need to add. So tell me, do I need to add on the LHS or on the RHS? Initially, it was less than equal to. Quickly. Initially, it was less than equal to. Now, once you are removing the less than equal to equal to, definitely the left hand side was smaller. That is the reason we are having less than or equal to. So, let us suppose I am introducing one variable S1 on the LHS of constraint 1 to convert this inequality into an equality equation. Clear? Similarly, in constraint number 2, once you are removing this inequality, I am introducing one more variable on constraint number 2. So this S1 and S2, these variables are called as the slack variables. Slack variables. What are the slack variables? These variables are basically being introduced in order to eliminate the inequality in the constraint equation. Clear? And this x1 and x2 are called, x1 and x2 are basically called as main decision variable. Okay, main decision variable. Main decision variable. Clear? Hai? Understood? S1 and S2, what are the slack variables? This is being used. Now tell me one thing. Whatever variables we are using in the constraint, it must be reflected in the objective function also. We are having x1 and x2 as the variable which is present in the objective function, but s1 and s2 which we are introducing the constraint, it is not present. So how would we can introduce? We can write this as 0s1 plus 0s2. Even if you are getting any value of s1 and s2, right, it won't be creating any impact in the objective function. Why? Because slack variables are only being introduced in order to eliminate the inequality sign. Clear? Okay, now we need to solve this equation. Now, how many unknowns are there? How many unknowns are there? Sir, x1, x2, s1, s2, there are 4 unknowns. And how many equations are there? There are only 2 equations. Is this possible to, can we solve these kind of equations? Like 2 equation, 4 unknown. Can we solve this equation? Tell me in the comment section, yes or no. Quickly. Quickly. Can we solve? Sir, it is not possible. It is not. Why it is not possible? Because sir, we are having 4 variables, unknown variables, x1, x2, s1, s2, and only 2 equations. So can we say the number of extra variables? Can you tell me? Good evening, good evening, good evening. So we are having 4 are the, we can say, number of equation is basically equal to 2. Number of unknown variables is equal to 4. So we are having 2 number of extra variables. So there are 2 number of extra variables. Okay, exactly. Fine. So there are in total of 2 number of extra variables. Then how to solve? So what we do in this kind of situation, we try to take randomly 2 variables to be equal to 0 and we calculate the rest variable. That is also possible. Let us suppose if I take x1 and x2 equal to 0, I can easily calculate the value of s1 and s2. Yes, that is one possibility. Or let us suppose if I take x1 and s1 equal to 0, I can easily calculate the value of x2 and s2. Yes. So at a time, if I am making the surplus variable or the extra variable to be equal to 0, I can easily calculate the other variables, other unknown variables. Clear? Hai? So can you tell me how many types of solution can be possible by assuming two set of variable to be 0 and calculate the other set, then again that next two set will be 0, then calculate the other. So how many possible ways are there? Anyone? Let us suppose if I take x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0. So I will be able to calculate the value of s1 and s2. This is one possible way. Second possible way is, so let us suppose x1 equal to 0 and s1 equal to 0. Once you do this, you will be able to calculate x2 and s2. This is one possibility. This is second possibility. So can you tell me in how many ways I can get the solution? Anyone? This is simple mathematics. It's a simple mathematics. We can have third possibility, we can have fourth possibility. So I can say the number of possible ways or number of possible solution is basically equal to how many variables are there? We are having 4, C, number of extra variables 2. So 4C2 will be giving you the number of possible ways. Clear? Can you tell me what is the value of 4C2? Quickly. 4C2. I need answers from every single student. The number of possible ways. 4 are the total number of unknown variables, right? And 2 is the number of extra variables. Okay. So tell me, this is the number of extra variables. So tell me, what will be the value of 4C2? You all have studied permutation and combination, right? I hope so. Everyone knows the value. 6. Everyone is agreeing with the 6. Yes. है ना? 6 ways. Yes. Any other value that you want to contribute apart from mechanical word? Akhilesh, Harsha. It's not a difficult task. Definitely we are getting this value to be equal to 6. Okay, now that means there are total possibility of 6 number of solutions. So out of this 6 solution, which solution is giving me the best result? That is nothing but the identification of the optimal solution using the simplex method. Clear hai? Okay, clear hai? Yes. Whatever value you are getting. Combination 4C2, Akhilesh, Harsha, ठीक है? Fine. Done. So now how to? Now we have understood that we have created the formulation, we have created the problem. Now we have to identify the initial solution. How we can find the initial solution? So basically, the simplest method is a tabular method. We have to draw a set of tables, right? And we have to find the solution and we have to check whether the solution is optimal or not. Clear? Now, the variables, now a star mark, very important. The variables which we are assuming, which we are taking to be equal to 0, that kind of variables we call as non-basic variable. Very important. Okay, and the variables whose value we calculate, that is we call it as the basic variable or basis. Basic variable or basis. Let us try to understand with help of an example. Now, if I try to take this particular example, here x1 and x2 I am taking it as non-basic. S1 and S2 will be called as a basic or basic variable. Here S1 and x1 and S1 are called as a non-basic variable, these combination, and S2 and x2 will be called as basic. Clear hai? Yes, everyone? One second, guys. One second. Clear hai? Yes? So the variables which are assuming this variable to be equal to 0 we call as the non-basic variable, and the variables whose value we are calculating that are called as the basic variable, or simply we can call it as basis. So now let us try to make the table, and based on that we will be identifying the solution. Okay, fine. So how to create, how to get the, how to assume that which variables you should be taking equal to 0? Normally we take the main decision variables. Okay, normally we try to take the main decision variables to be equal to 0. So if I take x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0, what is the equation? X1 plus x2 is equal plus s1 equal to 8, and x1 plus 2x2 plus s2 is equal to 4. So tell me, if I take x1 and x2 as the non-basic variable, then what is the value of s1 and s2? Anyone? This will be called as basis or basic. Basis or basic variable. Quickly. If I try to assume x1 and x2 to be equal to 0, place it over here, we'll be getting x1 equal to 8 and s2 equal to 4. Clear? So let us try to assume this as the first solution or first table or first solution. So let us try to formulate the first table over here. Okay, so here the bases are s1 and s2. S1 and s2 are the bases whose values are 8 and 4. Right? The equation, the first constraint, if I try to visualize, what is the coefficient of x1? That is equal to 1. Place 1 over here. What's the coefficient of x2? That is 1. What's the coefficient of s1? That is also equal to 1, right? But there is no s2. So I can rewrite this equation as x1 plus x2. You don't need to read, right? You don't need to write like this. It's only I'm making you to understand. So s2 is having a coefficient of 0. Okay. Similarly, the second equation, x1 is having a coefficient of 1. x2 is having a coefficient of 2. s1 is not present, so that is 0. s2 is having a 1. Okay, so I have written the bases are s1 and s2 I am taking for table number 1, whose values are 8, 4, and I have written the coefficient over here. Now what is the meaning of Cj? Cj is nothing but we can call it as the profit coefficient. That means the coefficient of the variables in the objective function. Now what is the objective function? Objective function is this one. Okay, 3x1 objective function is, let me write it over here, z is equal to 3x1 plus 9x2 plus 0s1 plus 0s2, right? So x1 is having a coefficient of 3, x2 is having a coefficient of 9, s1 and s2 are having coefficient of 0, 0. So here we are writing Cj value, Cj of which one? S1 is 0 and s2 is also 0. So this is the complete table. This is the complete table for table number 1. Now we have to check whether the solution, what solution? This solution, if I take x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0, s1 equal to 0, s1 equal to 8 and s2 equal to 4, is this possible solution is optimal or not? That we need to check. Okay, so how we can check? What we need to do is we need to calculate the value of we can say zj. Okay. Okay, fine. So let us calculate what is zj. Zj is nothing but you have to multiply the Cj value with the corresponding. So that means 0 into 1, 0 into 1 plus 0 into 1, that will be 0. 0 into 1 plus 0 into 2, that is also 0. 0 into 1 plus 0 into 0, that is 0, and this is also equal to 0. Okay. यहाँ तक ठीक है? एवरीवन इज हैविंग एनी डाउट? प्लीज डू लेट मी नो इफ एनीवन स्टूडेंट हैविंग एनी डाउट ओवर हियर, प्लीज टेल मी, or else we'll be going for the next. ZJ value clear hai? ZJ value is nothing but you have to multiply the coefficient with the corresponding column. 0 into 1 plus 0 into 1, that will be 0. Okay, so I'm not encircling क्योंकि ये भी हमें आगे काम आएगा. Now what is, there is one we can say variable, that is delta. Delta is nothing but net evaluation profit. ठीक है, fine. What is delta? Delta is nothing but Cj minus Zj. Delta is nothing but Cj minus Zj. What is Cj minus Zj? Cj कितना है? 3. 3 minus 0 is 3. 9 minus 0 is 9. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. ठीक है sir, what is the importance, what is the objective of using this delta? Delta basically tells you whether my solution is optimal or not. Now this is the important part. Delta value basically tells you about whether the solution is optimal or not. Tell me, this question was a maximization problem or a minimization problem? If I try to rewind, this problem was a maximization problem. देखो ये देखिए, we have to calculate the maximum value of the objective function. ठीक है, so this was a maximization problem. Now z max we have to calculate. Now what does this delta signifies? Delta means that if x1 is going into the system, क्योंकि देखो system का मतलब the solution, the variable which are basic variable. यहाँ पे s1 and s2 are the basic variable or basis, and x1 and x2 are the non-basic variable. ठीक है, so it is saying that if x1, which is a non-basic variable for this particular solution, is becoming a basic variable, if it goes into the solution, if it is becoming basis, then my z value will be increased by +3. Are you able to understand? If I'm converting x1 from non-basic to basic, okay, then my z value will be increased by +3. Chalo, this is one feasibility. Second feasibility is if I convert this x2 from non-basic variable to the basic variable, then my objective function, that is z, will be increased by +9. So tell me, among x1 and x2 आप किसको prefer करेंगे? Which non-basic variable you will be preferring to convert into basic variable, considering we have to maximize the objective function between x1 and, देखो दोनों में से एक को ले जाना है. Either x1 or x2 you have to convert into basic variable or basis. ठीक है, fine. So tell me which one will be preferring, sir? Obviously x2 will be increasing the objective function by +9 times. So I will be using x2 as the basic variable in the next iteration. That simply means this above solution is not optimal. Why? क्योंकि if I take x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0, s1 equal to 8 and s2 equal to 4, I won't be getting the maximum value. अब यहाँ पे check कर लीजिए. If I try to place it over here, please check. If I place x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0, s1 equal to and x2 equal to 4, you'll be getting the z value equal to 0. Place करके देख लीजिए. 3 into 0 plus 9 into 0 plus 0 into 0 plus 0 into, that is basically we are getting 0, which is not a maximum value. है ना? So this solution is not optimal because we need to calculate the z max and we are getting the delta value of the non-basic variable to be positive. तो इसका मतलब ये है, what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is your x2 now will be going into the system. x2 will be going, so this particular, now let me remove this one. So this particular variable we call it as the entry variable. Question में पूछते हैं, they are directly asking which of the variable is entry. They'll be giving you the table. GATE exam में they'll be giving you the table. They'll be asking what is the entry or exit variable. So here x2 is the entry variable. Clear? अब question क्या था? Question में we were having only two x's, है ना? Two variable to be the x's. Number of extra variable were 2. So at a time we have to take only two variables to be equal to 0. यहाँ पे if I'm converting x2 to be the basic तो प्रॉब्लम हो गया ना, वी आर ओनली हैविंग x1 एज द नॉन बेसिक, तो इधर s1 और s2 आई हैव टू कन्वर्ट फ्रॉम बेसिक टू नॉन बेसिक। अब इनमें से एक को आई हैव टू कन्वर्ट फ्रॉम बेसिक वेरिएबल और बेसिस टू नॉन बेसिक, क्योंकि x2 is becoming basic variable, so in between s1 and s2 I have to convert it to a non basic. A problem hai how which variable you will be selecting. For that we are using the theta, that is called as replacement ratio. Replacement ratio, ठीक है, let me write theta over here. Theta, that is equal to the value divided by the entry column. What is the meaning of this? देखो, we know that your x2 column is the entry variable, ठीक है. So what we do, we try to calculate the value of theta. Theta क्या है? In row number 1 the value is 8. 8 divided by 1 is 8. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Clear hai? Understood how we calculate the value of theta? Again repeating, theta is nothing but you have to calculate, you have to take the ratio of value. The value is 8 divided by the corresponding entry, we can say column, that is 1. Okay, so 8 by 1 is 8. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we have calculated the value of theta, and we will be replacing or removing that variable whose theta value is minimum. तो इन दोनों में से थीटा वैल्यू मिनिमम इज फॉर S2, so I can simply say S2 is my exit variable. S2 is my exit variable. तो this way we will be deciding कि कौन सा entry and कौन सा exit. So this is my exit variable. Clear है? We can call it as we can say exit row or entry column. That is also possible, but normally the normal nomenclature is exit variable and entry variable. That means for second iteration के लिए, second iteration मतलब table number 2, for second iteration we will be taking x1 equal to 0 and your s2 equal to, these are the two non-basic variables. So we can say x1 and s2, this will be called as the non-basic variable for table number 2. Okay, for table or solution number 2, and x2 and s1 is the basic variable. हाँ definitely, एक बार फिर से रिपीट कर देंगे. देखो, let me rewind one more time. Table we have calculated the delta value, ठीक है, delta value निकल गया, and because it is a maximization problem, so the delta value if it is coming positive, that means the solution is not optimal, and that too जिस non basic variable का delta value is having a larger value, that will be considered as an entry variable. चलो x2 is my entry variable, ठीक है. Next, अब देखो x2 will be becoming the basic variable, ये तो कंफर्म है. So among s1 और s2, इन दोनों में से एक को तो बाहर निकलना पड़ेगा ना, राइट? अगर पिछले वाले सॉल्यूशन में इफ x1 एंड x2 वर द नॉन बेसिक और s1 और s2 आपका बेसिक था फर्स्ट सॉल्यूशन में, इफ x2 इज नाउ बिकमिंग बेसिक वेरिएबल, तो दोनों में से एक को तो बाहर निकलना पड़ेगा, इधर s1 और s2. अब कौन सा सेलेक्ट करें? फॉर दैट वी आर यूजिंग द रिप्लेसमेंट रेशियो. व्हाट इज थीटा? थीटा इज इक्वल टू वैल्यू डिवाइडेड बाय द करस्पॉन्डिंग एंट्री वैल्यू और वैल्यू, हाँ ठीक है, फाइन. सो व्हाट इज दिस? देखो, ये वाला दिस पर्टिकुलर x2 वाला कॉलम इज द एंट्री वेरिएबल दैट वी हैव सीन. Now value is 8, so for one, that is 8 divided by this value is 1, so that is equal to 8. So we are getting this value to be 8. यहाँ पे value is 4, 4 divided by corresponding value is 2, so 4 divided by 2 is 2, and the value whose theta value is minimum, जिस row का theta value is minimum, that will be considered as a exit variable. Clear है? Clear अखिलेश? Exit variable clear हुआ? How we are identifying कौन सा, बस you have to identify the theta. Now अब हमें ये पता चल गया कि टेबल नंबर 2 के लिए the set of non basic is this one and basic variable is this one, ठीक है. अच्छा, tell me for table number 1, yeah, solution number 1, which we called as initial solution, right? What is the value of z? Z कितना आ रहा है? If I take x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0, s1 equal to 8 and s2 equal to 4, you place this set of value in the objective function, you will be getting the value of z equal to 0. और हमेशा देखा गया है first table will always be giving me the 0 value because normally the main decision variables is assumed to be the non-basic variable. तो इसी कारण we always say the first table is also known as the worst solution. इसीलिए first table is also called as the worst solution. The reason being always you'll be landing up with the z value to be equal to 0. Clear है? Understood? And we always do the simplest method is also always applicable to maximization problem. Minimization के लिए usually we are using the big M method. वो क्या है वो हम आगे कभी देखेंगे. ठीक है? Fine, clear है? All right. चलिए. So now let us draw the table number 2. Now let us draw the table number 2. अब table number 2 के लिए what are the basic variable? Sir, basic variable was आपका x2 and s1 है ना. फाइन. बेसिक वेरिएबल इज मतलब s2 चला गया, s2 की जगह x2 आ गया. ओके, सो वी आर हैविंग s1 ओवर हियर एंड x2 ओवर हियर. cj वैल्यू तो सेम ही रहेगा. व्हाट इज cj वैल्यूज? वी आर हैविंग 39000. cj वैल्यू इज 3900 एंड s1 का 0 है, x2 का इट इज 9. चलो यहां तक ऑल क्लियर. नाउ हाउ टू फिल दिस नंबर ऑफ वैल्यूज रोज एंड कॉलम कैसे करें? देयर आर सिंपल टेक्निक्स, वेरी इजी टेक्निक. टू सिंपल टेक्निक्स दैट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड जिससे टेबल विल बी फिल्ड इन अ वेरी इजीएस्ट वे. द फर्स्ट टेक्निक इज यू हैव टू सी द एग्जिट रो या एग्जिट वेरिएबल, ये वाला एग्जिट रो है ना, इसको हम एग्जिट रो भी बोलते हैं. एग्जिट रो. Exit row में if I try to see this particular element which is the intersection of exit variable or exit row and the entry column, this particular variable we call it as the, or this particular element we call it as a pivot element. इसको बोलते हैं pivot element. ठीक है? The intersection of the corresponding row and column, that element we call it as the pivot element. Clear है? Now what we do in order to calculate the new set of values, what we do first step is आपको you have to see the exit row, और exit row में you have to divide each and every element by the pivot element. मतलब 4 divided by 2 is 2. ठीक है? 1 divided by 2 is 1 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 0 by 2 is 0 and 1 by 2 is, this is 0 and 1 by 2. थीटा तो will be calculated. ठीक है? एक तो ये हो गया. This you have to understand. Second is always remember, very important, the basic variable. अगर आप basic variable देखें s1 and s2, table 1 में s1 s2 are the basic variable. If I try to see this value s1 s2 वाला, ये क्या है? 1 0 0 1 क्या है? What is this matrix called? S1, S2 कुछ ऐसे वैल्यू है 1 0 0 1. What do we call this matrix? This is a identity matrix or unit matrix. So always remember that basic variable always make a unit, we can say identity matrix or unit matrix. ठीक है? Fine. तो यहां पर भी S1 and X2 you have to write in that sequence only. S1 X2 1 0 0 1. तो वही यहां पे लिख दीजिए. So we are having 1 0 and 0 1. Clear है? So out of all the set of values we are able to fill 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 very easily, है ना? हाँ, perfect. ठीक है? ये हो गया. क्लियर है? Now प्रॉब्लम है सर हाउ टू आइडेंटिफाई 1 2 3 वैल्यूज हमें निकालना है. फॉर दैट यू हैव टू यूज वन फॉर्मुलेशन, दैट इज न्यू एलिमेंट इज इक्वल टू old element minus corresponding key row into key column divided by pivot element. ठीक है, we'll be using this formula right now to understand how we can implement this equation in our table. चलिए एक देखते हैं, हमें ये वाला वैल्यू निकालना है, दिस वाला, ठीक है, मतलब वैल्यू के नीचे वाला. तो इनिशियल वैल्यू वाज कितना था 8, पहले कितना था 8, ठीक है, द प्रीवियस वैल्यू वाज 8, अरे कहां गया, माइनस करस्पॉन्डिंग की रो एंड की कॉलम. व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस की रो एंड की कॉलम? देखो 8 के करस्पॉन्डिंग, नाउ लेट मी रब सम ऑफ द एरोस, क्योंकि अब बहुत ज्यादा आपके पास ही हो जाएगा, ठीक है. लेट मी रिमूव दिस वन. हाँ चलिए, नाउ 8 के लिए द करस्पॉन्डिंग की कॉलम कितना है 1 और करस्पॉन्डिंग की रो कितना है 4. सो 1 इंटू 4, 1 इंटू 4, पिवोट एलिमेंट कितना था 2, सो दिस विल बी इक्वल टू कितना 2, दैट इज इक्वल टू 6. सो वी आर गेटिंग द वैल्यू दिस इक्वल टू 6. क्लियर है? वी आर गेटिंग दिस वैल्यू टू बी इक्वल टू 6. अंडरस्टूड? चलिए एक बार इसके लिए ट्राई करते हैं. लेट अस ट्राई फॉर दिस वन, दिस पर्टिकुलर एलिमेंट x1 के नीचे वाला. x1 के नीचे द वैल्यू इज 1, corresponding key row and key column is 1 and 1. चलो, so this will be equal to 1 is the odd element, 1 into 1 divided by pivot element is 2. So that is equal to 1 minus 1 by 2, that is equal to 1 by 2, right? So we are getting 1 by 2 over here. ठीक है, चलिए let us try this one, S2 वाला कॉलम, S2 वाला कॉलम, ये वाला. So initially where we are having 0, so initially 0 है, 0 minus corresponding key row and key column 1 into 1. ठीक है, corresponding key row and key column is 1 into 1 and pivot element is 2, so this is minus 1 by 2. So we are getting this value to be minus. So we have completed all the table. अब हमें चेक करना है whether the set of value that we are getting, whether the solution that we are getting is optimal or not. उसके लिए क्या करना है? We have to identify the delta value. Delta value कैसे निकाले? First of all, identify the value of zj. What is zj? Zj is nothing but the multiplication of cj with the corresponding set value. So 0 into 1 by 2 plus 9 into 1 by 2, that is 9 by 2, है ना? यहाँ पे 0 into 0 plus 9 into 1, that is 9. 0 into 1, 9 into 0, that is 0. 0 into minus 1 by 2 plus 9 into 1 by 2, that is 9 by 2. Now we have to calculate the value of delta. Delta क्या होता है? Delta is equal to Cj minus Zj. So we are having, what's the value of delta? So we are having 3 minus this one, that is minus 1.5. 9 minus 9 is 0. This is 0 and this is minus 9 by 2. ठीक है? Fine. So now if I ask you, we were talking about maximization problem. Non-basic variable कौन से हैं? x1 is non-basic and x2 is non-basic. We have only checked the value of non-basic. अब non-basic variable का delta value is, we are getting minus 1.5 and minus 9 by 2, that is 4.5. So tell me which non-basic variable you will be preferring to convert into basic, x1 वाला या s2 वाला? Our objective is to calculate the value of z maximum, है ना? Objective is to calculate the value of z maximum, right? हमारा x1 का minus, that means if x1 is becoming basic variable, it will decrease the value of z by minus 1.5. Or if s2 you are converting into the basic variable, it will decrease the value of z by minus 4.5. 9 by 2 is 4.5. So which one you will be selecting, x1 or s2? कौन सा वेरिएबल you will be selecting, x1 और x2, s2? भाई हमें तो मैक्सिमम निकालना, we need to calculate the value of z maximum. हम क्यों x1 लेंगे? Because x1 will be decreasing the value of z. So definitely I can say now this solution is optimal solution. That's it, iteration stopped. टेबल नंबर 2 में ही आंसर आ गया. क्लियर है? ओनली वी हैव टू चेक द नॉन बेसिक वेरिएबल का डेल्टा वैल्यू नेगेटिव है, परफेक्ट, ऑप्टिमल, क्योंकि मैक्सिमाइजेशन प्रॉब्लम है. दैट मीन्स व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस इज दैट सिंपली मीन्स आवर फाइनल ऑप्टिमल सॉल्यूशन, फाइनल ऑप्टिमल सॉल्यूशन इज कितना, देखो S1 इक्वल टू 6, X2 इक्वल टू 2, है ना, and x1 and s2 are non-basic, so x1 equal to 0 and s2 equal to 0, but these one non-basic variable, ये आपके दोनों non-basic थे इसलिए. Clear? Understood? So what was the objective function? So z is equal to 3x1 plus 9x2 plus 0s1 plus 0s2. So can you tell me place all this value? So z maximum कितना आ रहा है? That will be getting 2 into 9, that is 18. And that too we are getting at which, at x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 2. इस particular point पे you are getting the final optimal solution. ठीक है, is this clear? और if I try to check जिसको हमने 2 मिनट में we were able to solve by using the graphical approach, we were getting 0,2 पे. If I calculate z max कितना है, place it over here, 18. The same set of value we are getting by using the simplex method over here by using the iteration. Clear hai? That is the reason I initially, yesterday we have talked about the graphical method in order to understand what is graphical. उसके बाद ही simplex need to be studied. Clear hai? Understood? Everyone? How we are going the step by step calculation. Exam में they will be asking you not to या iteration करने के लिए they won't be doing, they won't be asking, they'll be saying okay, in second iteration what is the value of z, बस what's the value of objective function. They won't be asking you to calculate the optimal solution. Clear है? Or they'll be giving you the table and they'll be asking you which is entry variable, which is exit variable, or which is pivot element. What is the value of pivot element? This kind of question you can expect in the GATE examination from the simplex method. Clear hai? Okay, if this is clear, now I'll be giving you one question as an assignment problem. ठीक है, this is an assignment problem, home task. आप घर पे try कीजिए, ठीक है, and tell me the value of this solution, this question in the comment section after the class. Clear है? That I can expect from you, because once you have done the simplex method, आपको एक question नया लगाना जरूरी है. And you can cross verify your answer by solving by using the graphical. पहले graphical से solve कर लो, you get the answer, then you cross check the value whether we are getting the same result by using the simplex. ये तरीका होता है simplex method को समझना. एक बार करना है, you have to only practice one time. After that no need to practice simplex method because you are understanding the concept. कोई भी बीच का concept if they are asking, you will be able to answer. Okay, so try this problem at home and tell me what is the answer in the comment section, right? Or definitely I'll be happy to, और अगर आपको कोई doubt आता है, I'll be happy to help you out on my Telegram channel या मेरे mail ID पे you can do drop me a mail. Okay, fine. So that's it for today's session. I hope you all enjoyed the session, right? And before leaving the session, please do like the video क्योंकि simplex method is not that easy. नाम simplex है but थोड़ा सा lengthy होता है. For that I wanted you guys to understand in a more simplest way, step by step method I have explained. If you have any doubt after this also, you can, I'm happy to help you out. You can do tell your doubts in the comment section after the class if you are seeing in the recorded format. Okay, so thank you guys, bye bye, take care, stay safe, and before leaving please do like the session and do subscribe to this channel क्योंकि सब्सक्राइब नहीं करोगे तो बहुत सारे नोटिफिकेशन आपके पास नहीं आएंगे. Okay, so thank you, bye bye, take care, stay safe and enjoy your day with Resultant. Thank you.